Today I am going to discuss about hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia means larger amount of potassium present in your extracellular compartment. To say that, you should know the normal amount of potassium in your extracellular compartment. How much of potassium present in your extracellular compartment right now? Yes, if I take your blood right now and send for the lab, how much of potassium present in your blood? Your blood approximately containing 3.5 to 5 millimoles per liter potassium ion. Your blood approximately containing 3.5 to 5 millimoles per liter potassium ion in extracellular compartment. Why Dr. Dinesh highlight extracellular compartment? Your intracellular compartment also containing potassium. Your intracellular compartment containing much more amount of potassium. How much? It is approximately 140 millimoles per liter potassium ion. Here we have cell containing approximately 140 millimoles per liter potassium. Here we have extracellular compartment. It containing approximately 3.5 to 5 millimoles per liter potassium ion. If you found a patient with potassium level more than 5, we are going to call it as hyperkalemia. If you found a patient with potassium level less than 3.5, we are going to call it as hypokalemia. Potassium ion is one of the major dangerous ion present in your body. What is the most dangerous ion present in your body? Potassium. Answer is wrong. Your body containing sodium ion, chloride ion, bicarbonate, potassium, magnesium, calcium. Out of those ion, which ion is more dangerous? Yes, hydrogen ion is much more dangerous than potassium ion. If you have a pH of 7.4 right now your body containing approximately 40 nanomoles per liter hydrogen ion. 40 nanomoles per liter hydrogen ion, pH 7.4. If pH is 7.0, most of the time not compatible with life sometime. pH of 7.0, that means it containing approximately 100 nanomoles per liter hydrogen ion. Here it is in nanomole range. Here it is in millimole range. The most dangerous ion in your body right now is hydrogen ion. The second most dangerous ion is potassium. That means you should know in and out about the potassium ion. Potassium is necessary for body function. What is the function of potassium? To maintain the cell homeostasis, to maintain the cell electrical gradient. Your cell is usually under negative electricity. To maintain that negative electricity, you should have potassium in your body. For that, you have to take potassium from outside. For daily requirement of potassium, how much of potassium you need per day? Yes, anyone? In healthy adult, approximately need 0.8 to 1.2 millimoles per kilogram per day potassium requirement. Healthy adult approximately need 0.8 to 1.2 millimoles per kilogram per day potassium requirement. The middle value is here 1. At least we should take 1 millimoles per kilogram per day potassium from outside. That means if I am 70 kilogram healthy adult, I should take approximately 70 millimoles potassium per day. That potassium is necessary for my cell function. So, in addition to that, somehow I should remove that potassium from my body. Otherwise, potassium going to accumulate. So, there are two major mechanisms of removing potassium from body. You can imagine right now. One is via your urine. Number 2, via your feces. You can remove your potassium via your urine, genitourinary system, or as feces. That means if I take 70 millimoles per day potassium, I have to remove part of them from the urine, part of them from the feces. My cell also containing larger amount of potassium. It exchange the potassium with the extracellular compartment through the day. If I take larger amount of potassium from here, either higher amount of potassium from diet, or if I give potassium intravenously, iatrogenically, higher amount of potassium, higher amount of KCl intravenously, my patient can develop hyperkalemia. My patient can develop hyperkalemia. If my patient develop renal failure, reduces the excretion of potassium ion from the body, or if I give some kind of drugs, here renal failure, or drugs which block the potassium excretion, my patient can develop hyperkalemia. If my patient develop acute kidney injury or chronic kidney disease, can develop hyperkalemia. Some drugs like aldosterone antagonist can develop hyperkalemia. Can you give me an example for aldosterone antagonist? Yes, I'm right. Yes, thank you for knowing it. I'm right. If my patient receiving aldosterone antagonist, or if my patient having acute kidney injury or chronic kidney disease, is failing in excretion of potassium ion, can develop hyperkalemia. Or if I receive larger amount of potassium from the outside, can develop hyperkalemia. Or I already told, human bodies containing body cell containing larger amount of potassium. Truly speaking, human body is some kind of suicide bomb. It containing larger amount of potassium in cells. If due to some reasons, if your cell going to blast, what happens is larger amount of potassium will accumulate in your cells, in your extracellular compartment. Your patient develop cardiac arrhythmia due to that larger amount of potassium. That means if your patient develops some cell destruction due to some disease, your patient can develop hyperkalemia. Here also your patient can develop hyperkalemia. Here also your patient can develop hyperkalemia. Here also cell destruction can also going to develop hyperkalemia. How can your cell destruction? Yes, if your patient develop rhabdomyolysis or burn, sometime severe crush injury, trauma. So rhabdomyolysis, burn, trauma, all those can cause destruction of your cells. So because of that, your cell can liberate larger amount of potassium into extracellular compartment. Or sometime if your patient develop acidosis, they take hydrogen ion, then they try to put potassium ion inside outside. So by that way, your patient can create high potassium level. Not only that, body also try to preserve the potassium ion in that case. Kidney try to remove the hydrogen ion from the kidney. Kidney try to preserve the potassium ion from the kidney in that case. So in patient with acidosis also can develop hyperkalemia. If you send a blood sample to lab, if you found to have high potassium level, it may be due to high intake, high oral potassium, or larger amount of intravenous KCl, or it may be due to renal failure or reduced excretion. It may be due to aldosterone antagonist drugs. It may be due to acidosis, or it may be due to larger amount of cell destruction, may be due to rhabdomyolysis, may be due to burn, may be due to trauma. So you have to identify the causes and you have to treat hyperkalemia aggressively. Why? Hyperkalemia can kill your patients. At the end of the lecture, you will be able to identify, you will be able to manage hyperkalemia properly. Because of that, right now I am going to infuse potassium into my patient and we'll see what are the changes will happen in my patient body. I am going to select one cell from the body. I am going to observe with the cell activity with the potassium infusion. Which cell you want to observe? Brain cell, skeletal muscle cells, cardiac muscle cells, alveolar cells, type 2 pneumocyte-like cells, liver cells, kidney cells, pancreatic cells. Out of those cells, which cell you want to observe? cardiac muscle cells. So I will observe the cardiac muscle cell activity while infusing the potassium. So I am going to give potassium into this patient intravenously KCL. While giving potassium, I am going to check for the electrical potential or action potential of myocardial muscle cells. If you remember the normal action potential of the myocardial muscle cells, normal action potential, here your baseline, it is roughly about minus 90 millivolt. Your cardiac muscle cells membrane potential roughly about minus 90 millivolts. When coming to a specialized myocardium, SA node or AV node, it is roughly about 70 millivolts. Here, roughly about 90 millivolts. So from 90 millivolt, once the impulse come, it go up to threshold potential. Threshold potential is somewhere around 70 millivolts. Once it touch the threshold potential, what happens is your voltage gated sodium channel going to open. Your voltage gated sodium channel largely open. With that, what happens is minus negativity is gradually reduced. It went up to plus 35 millivolt. Once it touched the plus 35 millivolt, what happens is your sodium channel going to close. With the sodium channel close up, it rapidly reduces the upstroke. Then your potassium channel going to open. Your sodium channel close and your potassium channel going to open. Simultaneously, your calcium channel also going to be open. Here you have larger amount of sodium influx. Here you have potassium start goes out. Simultaneously, same time, your calcium also will start come into inside of your cells. Because of that polarization maintaining around the plus 35 millivolt for roughly about 300 milliseconds. It will maintain there roughly about 200 to 300 milliseconds. After that, your sodium channel, here calcium channel. After that, your calcium channel is going to be closed here. Calcium close. Your potassium channel continuously kept open. Because of that, your potassium continuously goes out. Cell become negative. It is become more negative than previous for the certain period. After that, it come back into normal. Here your potassium continues to go into out. Here the electrical disturbances. Now your cells contain larger amount of sodium inside. Here it must be sodium. Here your cells contain larger amount of sodium now, lesser amount of potassium. Although cell become negative, the ionic wise it will be disturbance. Normal cell containing larger amount of potassium inside, lesser amount of sodium. But this cell now, or depolarized cell containing larger amount of sodium, lesser amount of potassium. That electrical disturbance should be corrected by using your sodium, potassium, ATPase form. This is what happened in your normal myocardial cells. Once I start the potassium infusion, what happened is potassium freely can move through the cells. Potassium can freely come into inside. Because of that, your minus negativity is gradually reduced. Usually, cardiac muscle cells minus negativity is minus 90 millivolt. Here, what happened with the potassium infusion is that minus negativity is no more there. Now it is roughly about minus 80. When my potassium level is more than 5, the minus negativity is gradually reduced. Because of that, even with the minor stimuli, it going to threshold potential. Then your cardiac action potential is started. It will happen repeatedly. Because of that, your myocardial muscle cell think, this one going to trouble me repeatedly. Now I should show some kind of resistance. What they going to do is, They are going to reduce the amount of sodium channel present here. They are going to reduce the amount of voltage here at sodium channel. So previously there was 4 sodium channel, now only 2 sodium channel they have. Because of that, even though they stimulate threshold potential frequently, they are not going to fire because lesser number of potassium sodium channel containing right now. Even it fire, it not going to show rapid improvement like previously. Instead of that, once it come into this level, it shows some increment with some slope. Not this much rapid increment, it will slowly improve into this level. After that, what happened is, it not going up to plus 35, it remaining somewhere around here, somewhere around plus 20, then it gradually come down into base level. That means whole action potential is now look like depressed. You think, I also thought with the high potassium level, they are going to repeatedly stimulate, the excitability of the myocardial muscle goes up. The excitability already goes up. They can stimulate even with the minor stimulus. But cardiac muscle shows some kind of resistance. Because of that, repolarization also, this part belongs to repolarization. This part belongs to repolarization. From here to here, myocardial muscle depolarize. From here to here, it try to repolarize. Repolarization happen rapidly, not take this much time. Previously it take from here to here repolarization, now from here to here. Previously repolarization from here to here, now repolarization is from here to here. Repolarization process of the myocardium, the whole myocardial repolarization process is now shortened. Because of that, if you take an ECG, it shows narrow repolarization process. Very, very narrow repolarization process. I will show you what happens when repolarization process is very narrow. This is your P wave represented atrial depolarization. Here your QRS complex represent major ventricular depolarization. Here your T wave represent ventricular repolarization. When patient with hyperkalemia, when your patient having hyperkalemia, what happened is repolarization process is very short and happening very rapidly. Your P wave is there, nothing happened. After that your QRS complex also there, but your T wave happened very rapidly. And because of that rapid happen, the electrical vector or electrical amount of electric generated also little bit higher. Because of that, it rapidly goes and come down. This look like toll, not only toll, it is like tent. When you make a tent, it will be like this. Because of that, we are going to call it as toll tented T wave. The most initial ECG features of patient with hyperkalemia is toll tented T wave. How it happened? You know already now. Because this duration of the repolarization is very, very narrow and more synchronized as well. Because of that, all the T wave now going to come together. Because of that, you can have toll tented T wave. After that, the first feature is toll tented T wave. After that, your atria also, your atrial muscle also going to paralyze. Because that chronic stimulation lead to atrial muscle paralysis. Because of that, if your patient having more than 5.5, sorry, if it is more than 5.5 millimoles per liter, you can see the toll tented T wave. If your patient having more than 6.5 millimoles per liter, your P wave also start to disappear. Why? Your atrial now paralyzed. Even though your SA node stimulate, that impulse is not go through a myocardium, because chronically elevated potassium level going to paralyze your myocardial atrial muscle first. Later on ventricular muscle, first of all atrial muscles. So because of that, now P wave is not there, only your QRS complex is there, and you can have tall tender T wave. When I infuse the potassium to the patient, once it become more than 5.5, I can see the tall tender T wave. Once it more than 6.5, P wave also start to disappear, and T wave more become tall tendered. Once it more than 7 means 7 millimoles per liter. What happened is, your conduction system, because of this upstroke, further going to be like this. This upstroke previously here, now it further moving to this side because of large amount of potassium going to inhibit your voltage gated sodium channel. Now your cardiac muscle containing even much more less sodium channel. Because of that, this stroke is not straightforward right now, little bit slurry. Because of that, your depolarization process of the myocardium also take time. Repolarization happen rapidly, depolarization process take longer time. Because of that, once it becomes 7, what happens is, here your P wave is not there now. P wave should be here, but it disappears because of the atrial depolarization. Now your depolarization of the major ventricle also take much more time. Because of that, your QRS complex also start to wide. QRS complex also start wide. T wave, tall tender T wave, because this fraction further reduced. Previously from here to here, now from here to here. So your T wave further tall tender, look like further tall tender. QRS complex is broad and wide. P wave start to disappear. If I increase potassium further, once it more than 9, your patient can develop sine wave pattern and cardiac arrest. Here QRS complex, here your T wave, look like sine wave pattern, and followed by your patient can develop asystole. Here sine wave pattern, here wide QRS, here absent P wave. The ECG changes associated with hyperkalemia, tall tender T wave. Why? You know why tall tender T wave is there right now? Absent P wave, you know why? Atrial paralysis. Why QRS complex? You know what is the reason for why QRS complex? And your patient can develop sine wave pattern and ultimately asystole. If your patient develop hyperkalemia, you have to manage carefully. You have to manage acutely. Otherwise, your patient can develop these ECG changes followed by your patient can die. One of the reversible thing when you are managing the cardiac arrest patient is hyperkalemia. Now I am going to teach you how to manage hyperkalemia. If your patient shows ECG abnormalities, number 1, you have to stabilize your myocardial muscle cells. Number 1, you have to stabilize your patient myocardial muscles. If your patient having ECG changes, stabilize myocardial. To stabilize the myocardial muscles, you have to give calcium to your patients, either calcium gluconate or calcium chloride. Calcium gluconate or calcium chloride. Calcium gluconate you have to give 30 ml. 30 ml calcium gluconate, 10%. 10% calcium gluconate, 30 ml. Or calcium chloride you have to give 10 ml. Calcium chloride approximately containing 3 times of calcium when comparing to calcium gluconate. 10% calcium gluconate, 10 ml, approximately containing 2.2 millimoles calcium. 10% calcium gluconate 10 ml. 10% 10 ml containing 2.2 millimoles of calcium. 10% calcium chloride 10 ml approximately containing 6.8 millimoles calcium. That means approximately 3 times of calcium they are in calcium chloride. You have to repeat calcium chloride or calcium gluconate until ECG changes disappears. Until ECG changes disappears. It acts rapidly. It acts within minutes. It acts within minutes. Action will last about 20 minutes. That means after about 20 to 30 minutes, your patient is again in danger. If you not remove the causative factor, if you are not giving the drugs to remove the potassium from the body, your patient will be in danger. Act within minutes and will be there for 20 to 30 minutes. This is how you will stabilize your myocardial muscles. How much of calcium gluconate or calcium chloride you should give to your patient? That is depend on ECG appearance. Until ECG changes disappear, you have to give calcium to your patients. Number 2 is we are going to push potassium into intracellular compartment. We are going to push potassium into intracellular compartment. I already told you intracellular compartment contains larger amount of potassium. Much more larger is doesn't matter. Because of that we are going to push potassium into inside. Shall we check what are the ways available to push the potassium into the inside of the cell? Number 1, you can give insulin plus dextrose. Insulin plus dextrose. How much of insulin? 10 units of insulin plus 50% of dextrose, 50 ml. You have to give 10 unit insulin plus 50 ml, 50% dextrose. The action is insulin can stimulate your patient sodium potassium ATPase activity. This is your patient cell. This is your patient cell. Cell contains sodium potassium ATPase pump. The function of the sodium potassium ATPase pump is put 3 sodium into outside, take 2 potassium into inside. This pump can stimulate by insulin. This pump can stimulate by insulin. Meantime, insulin push glucose into the inside of your cells. Your patient can develop hypoglycemia as well. To prevent that, you have to give dextrose to your patients. So number 1, the action will start roughly about 15 to 30 minutes. Action will be there for 2 to 4 hours. Action will start with 15 to 30 minutes. Action will be there for 2 to 4 hours. Some books mention it will start after about 5 minutes and it will be there for about 2 hours. Both answers are correct. Number 2, you can nebulize your patient. You can nebulize your patient with what? Ipratropium bromide or salbutamol. Yes, very good. You can nebulize your patient with salbutamol. How much? 0.5 milligram salbutamol. You have to nebulize your patient with 0.5 milligram salbutamol. Salbutamol also does same mechanism. They are going and stimulate your sodium potassium ATPase pump. You push potassium into inside of the cells. Now your extracellular potassium is start to goes down to non-dangerous level. You can give nebulized salbutamol and IV salbutamol as well. IV salbutamol little bit of dangerous, but what they found to have, IV salbutamol is much more effective. Again, the action is same. Started with 5 to 15 minutes. It will be there for 2 to 4 hours. That means you have to repeat those 2 while monitoring the potassium level sometime every 2 to 4 hours. You have to nebulize every 2 to 4 hours. You have to give dextrose plus insulin 2 to 4 hours in order to push potassium into inside of your cells. In addition to that, you can give sodium bicarbonate to your patient. Sodium bicarbonate also help in reducing the potassium in your cells, not the cells, extracellular compartment. Number 3, sodium bicarbonate. What bicarbonate does is, bicarbonate go and bind to hydrogen ion and reduces the hydrogen ion in the extracellular compartment. Bicarbonate go and bind with your hydrogen ion, going to produce carbonic acid. Because of that, hydrogen ion going to reduce in the extracellular compartment. Because of that, cells start to go push hydrogen ion into the outside, but cell can't easily put the hydrogen ion into outside because hydrogen ion is electrically charged. Because of that, what cell does is, they put sodium ion and hydrogen ion both into outside by using the sodium hydrogen exchanger. Sodium hydrogen exchanger. Now you are having larger amount of hydrogen, larger amount of sodium in the outside. This sodium and your sodium potassium pump again going to activate. By that way, your potassium can again push into your intercellular compartment. So your insulin dextrose, your nebulization, your sodium bicarbonate, all those things can help in pushing potassium into the intracellular compartment. Now, you have to remove the potassium from the body. Now, first one you did this, you stabilize the membrane. Number 2, you did this, you remove the potassium from the extracellular compartment to intracellular compartment. You push potassium. Number 3, you are going to remove the potassium from the body. So, number 3, you are going to remove the potassium from the body. To remove the potassium, you can start diuretic. You know, low diuretic, furosemide, going to cause hypokalemia, hypomagnesemia, hyponatremia. So you can start loop diuretic or furosemide. You can start mannitol, but they have found the starting of the furosemide or mannitol does not going to reduce the potassium level in the extracellular compartment. Does not going to reduce the potassium level in the extracellular compartment. But theoretically, you can start furosemide and mannitol to your patients. Number 2, you can start oral potassium binding resins. You can start oral potassium binding resins. You can give the drugs to the patient to the oral way. Those drugs go and bind potassium into that drugs and going to remove via your pieces. So potassium binding resins. Binding resins. You can give potassium binding resins, or you can start dialysis. Potassium binding resins approximately take 4 to 6 hours to act. 4 to 6 hours to act. If your patient having very high amount of potassium, you need to reduce potassium level very rapidly. You have to consider dialysis. If these mechanisms fail, you have to consider dialysis. Dialysis can remove approximately 20 to 30 millimoles per hour. They can remove 20 to 30 millimoles per hour potassium from your extracellular compartment. That means rapidly you can remove potassium from your extracellular compartment. So, shall we recap again? If your patient having ECG changes, you have to establish your patient's myocardium. Calcium gluconate is the drug of choice. Then you have to push potassium into the intracellular compartment. You can consider insulin dextrose. You can consider nebulization. You can consider sodium bicarbonate. After that, you have to remove the potassium from the body. You can consider furosemide. You can consider potassium binding resins. You can consider dialysis as a last option. if you are patient having very resistance hyperkalemia to medical treatment, the first option is dialysis. This is all regarding the management of hyperkalemia. Thank you very much.